What's up, Nasty Nation? It's Nasteey, and I would like to welcome each and every one of you guys to the first episode ever of the Real Talk podcast. Today, I'm going to be joined by the Strategy Professor and MeNoHaxor. I'll pass it off to them to give themselves a little bit of an introduction in case you are not familiar with them already. Haxor, do you want to start us off?
Sure. So I'm MeNoHaxor. You can just call me Haxor. I've been playing League for probably since Season 2, and I've been in Challenger for probably around Season 4 up until now every season. And I guess I was known as a Thresh one-trick for a long time, and then only up until Season 7 is when I finally decided to branch off and play other things. And now I'm mostly an Enchanter one-trick. Yeah, that's a pretty good summary.
And Professor, do you want to be called Professor, or how do you prefer to be addressed?
Sure, that's fine.
All right,
yeah.
Go ahead. Where can we?
Okay,
give us a little introduction.
Okay, yeah, I'm the Strategy Professor. I create a lot of content on YouTube. The Strategy Professor also stream there. Mostly focus on really in-depth, sometimes too long of content. It's usually about an hour long, like deep dive into different theoretical aspects of League and focus mostly on the support role. So I did reach Diamond back in Season 6 and was Platinum in Season 7, and then finally got it back at the very end here in the preseason, got back to Diamond. So it's nice to be back. But yeah, I mean, that's what I do, focused on long form kind of theoretical stuff for League.
Awesome. All right, so if you guys didn't already understand this, or if you didn't get this already, we're all support mains, so we're going to try to talk about a bunch of different topics about League of Legends as a whole in this little podcast that we have going on right now, this little back and forth conversation. But we are going to be focusing on the support role as much as we can, because there are a lot of support players that are tuning into our content and trying to improve on the game. So let's just jump right into it. And I first wanted to start off with a pretty broad topic, and that is basically, what were your thoughts on Season 8 as a whole? A little reminder, this season was really, really different. There's a lot of drastic changes. If you look at competitive play specifically, this is the season where we started seeing stuff like Vladimir in the bot lane, Irelia in the bot lane. We went through ADCs not being part of the game at all. It was just a really chaotic year as a whole. So what are your guys' thoughts on Season 8? And then I'll let you guys start, and then I'll kind of give my thoughts on it.
I would say in terms of champion plays, like you mentioned, like we got a lot of bruisers, but especially especially halfway through the season, that's when things changed. At the beginning of the season, it was pretty stable. Like everyone pretty much just played either Braum, Alistar, Tom Kench, like every single game competitive. It wasn't that exciting in that aspect in terms of champions played, but I think that in terms of the support role overall, with like itemization and warding and stuff like that, it's gotten so much better with each year, and this year is definitely really nice. Like I think like a lot of the issues with supporting being a ward bot has been kind of solved now. A lot of people are now like actually warding with trinkets. People are actually buying control wards, not just you. So and like even with the most recent change where they only allow 2 control wards rather than 3, I think that those are very good changes to slowly get other people to help out with vision and not just have supports do it. And so it's definitely adding a lot more power to the support role, and I think that it's pretty good in terms of the support role transitioning into being not just a ward bot. Champion pool wise was kind of stale though, I would say, this season.
It's actually really interesting to hear your perspective on it, because you maintained Challenger throughout the whole season, right?
Right.
And it's actually really crazy, because those are a lot of things that I never really considered, and maybe that's just because I was stuck in Diamond for the majority of the season, right? So you're talking about all these champion picks for like Braum, Tom Kench, Alistar, stuff like that. I don't see that too often in my game, so it's really interesting to see the different perspectives. For me personally, the thing that really hit for me in Season 8, okay, so first of all, if you rewind back to Season 7, that's when I hit Challenger for the first time. This is during the Ardent meta, right? And Season 8 was so much different for me personally, because I feel like the meta changes were more frequent, and I noticed how difficult it was for me to keep up with it, because the game just had so many drastic changes from month to month, and it was so difficult for me to keep up with. When in comparison to Season 7, the Ardent meta was just there for so long, and I was able to adapt to it. I was able to kind of get a grasp of the game, get a grasp of the meta, and climb with a good understanding of the game. And this season, I was just all over the place. But yeah, I think that there's a bunch of different things that we could take away from it. But I do think it's pretty interesting to see how just in different ranks, you do notice different things. So what about you, Professor? Where did you spend most of the season, and what kind of things did you notice about Season 8?
I liked Season 8 a lot. I thought it was really cool. I know there were some people that were very skeptical of the runes, like adding too much power in, and there was a lot of sort of a tank meta for the first 9 patches or so, and it did change a lot. I actually like that as someone who focuses a lot on, kind of the theoretical aspect and these different changes and trying to help people optimize their runes and their approach to the game. Having a fresh change every couple of weeks is really good for me because it gave me a lot more stuff to talk about, so that was great. But yeah, it's, kind of like Haxor said, I thought that it was a lot of Braum and Tom, especially competitive early on. I like that a lot. And then we got into kind of the mid-season insanity that we kind of talked about earlier, where they gutted all of the 80 carry items. They ended up nerfing a lot of the enchanters really hard on 812. And we had a combination, kind of a perfect storm of sort of this funnel comp meta coming in addition to like with mages in the bot lane. You had your Vladimirs, your Swains, and then sometimes like Yasuo and Irelia and stuff like that. I personally like that. I thought it was really fun. I thought it was very fresh to not have the same type of role in the bot lane as it had been for like the previous 8 season. You have to have a ranged 80 marksman most of the time. So I thought that opened up a lot of strategic doors and was really cool that you could have a mage there, or you could have like 2 people in the mid lane or double jungle or all kinds of stuff. I thought that was fun. I thought it was very poorly marketed by Riot, though, and it just looked like they didn't know what they were doing. I thought it was an intentional change, but it looked like they didn't know what was going on, and they weren't in control of the narrative. And then you had all these pro players and content creators coming out saying that it was just like destroying the game, and so they backpedaled kind of quickly and tried to bring back the traditional 80 carry, get rid of funnel, and then the back half of the season was really cool. I thought Worlds was one of the best Worlds ever. I mean, the semis and the finals were a little bit of a stomp, but the rest of it was very interesting and fun and dynamic. And so I thought they've reined it in quite a lot, and they're trying to find a good balance of sort of interesting, innovative, new and fresh things for League, while at the same time allowing it to resemble the League that we've all known for 8 years. They've also had stiff competition from Fortnite, though, just on the side all year. And so I felt like they really wanted to speed the game up, and they really wanted to make it something that was fresh in the summer. And I thought it was a good attempt. They just didn't control the narrative enough, and it was a little too hardcore on the changes. And so I thought it was good. I liked the season.
So I'm gonna cut us off there real quick to jump to the next topic, just because we've already started to touch on it. The next topic is how good or bad was the support role this past season, and as I mentioned, we already started touching on it a little bit. But let's make this really, really fun and simple. So if you could give the support role as a whole a rating between 1 and 10 for all of season 8, how would you rate it? Haxor, what do you think?
I'd give it an 8. I thought it was really good. I was definitely way more positive than other seasons.
In comparison to season 7, then, do you think that it was higher or lower than season 7?
Ooh, well, season 7 was really fun for me because I was like, I was jumping on the Enchanter train, and I felt like a god with the Ardent meta.
Oh, yeah.
So season 7 for me was like a 9 or a 10.
Okay.
They toned it down a little bit for sure, and I definitely struggled a bit more this season, even though it didn't change my champion pool that much, but which is why I would tone it down a little bit to like around an 8. But it was still good overall.
I'm definitely kind of in the same situation. I'm a little biased with this because for me personally, I was a lot better in season 7 than I was in season 8. So of course I'm gonna rank season 8 a lot lower. So I'd probably give season 8 like a 6 maybe. But that's just because I struggled, right? And I'm sure there's a lot of other support players out there that found success. Actually, Haxor, you finished Challenger, right? So obviously you saw success. Professor, you peaked at Diamond for the first time, right, in Season 8? So you also found success. So maybe it's just me, but I would rate Season 8 as a whole for the support role at like a 6 or so. Yeah, it was just really rough for me. But Professor, what do you think?
Okay, well, yeah, it depends on how we're defining like success. I think that supports were objectively a lot more powerful in season 7 for sure with the Ardent Sensor meta, and just the fact that like 80 carries in general were really strong. Usually, especially enchanters are heavily tied to how effective 80 carries are, because Ardent Sensor doesn't really matter so much if you have a Swain, as your laning partner. But yeah, I liked it a lot. I was. Not just because I finally, got back to Diamond for like the second time. I've always been like every season, I'm like Platinum 1, I'm like knocking on the door. So it's not that much of a difference between like, Diamond 5 or now Diamond 4, relatively 0 LP and, Platinum 190 LP or whatever. But I just like the dynamicism of it. There were a lot of different supports that were good at different times, and I got to try out a bunch of different kinds of supports. You know, down the stretch, I was even playing things near the end of the season like Nautilus and Thresh, which I hadn't done that much, but I thought Engage supports were really nice because people weren't playing a lot of Engage and other roles near the end of the season. You know, you didn't have tank junglers, you didn't have tank tops really in solo queue, and so having someone that could start a fight was nice. But then I still really enjoy things like, you know, Nami, Janna, Zyra, and I think a lot of different stuff has been viable at different times during the season. So I liked it.
All right, sweet.
I'll give it like a 9. Yeah, I'll give it like a 9.
A 9. Okay, all right. So I was actually going to jump into some topics about Season 9, but before we get into Season 9, let's talk about right now. Like, in between Season 8, Season 9, we're in the preseason right now, and something that I always find super interesting is tier list. There's never such thing as a perfect tier list. Everybody has a different interpretation of the tier list. I know, Professor, you put out a lot of tier lists, and I put out tier lists from time to time, and they're almost never identical, right? They're never spot on with each other. There's people like Aoki and Lopali who will mention their tier lists and stuff, and nobody ever is 100% spot on. So I figured we could take a second here to kind of go over our own little meta, and maybe we can bounce some ideas off of each other and kind of get a grasp of what is strong right now. And Haxor, you should continue starting off because you're better than all of us at this game. So maybe you know the meta a little bit more than we do.
True.
Ooh, I think I guess since that new patch just came out, I don't really know what's super strong right now, but I would say for the last couple patches for the last 2 months, I always put Pyke as number 1 support.
Really?
Every single time. I've always thought Pyke was insane because I felt that no matter how much you won lane against a Pyke, if a Pyke got one good team fight off with his ult resets, he just came back in the game every single time, and that was super frustrating to me. And especially since I also played mostly Enchanters this season, I felt laning against the Pyke was insanely difficult because he's not only just a better version of Blitzcrank and Thresh that has sustain in lane, but he also has like huge kill potential because he can just, engage on you so easily. And so I banned Pyke every single game when I was climbing because I just didn't want to deal with it and I didn't want to learn him either. So I always put Pyke as number 1, and then I would say like S tier, and then A tier, which is basically you can pick him like any game and it's fine. I think Alistar, Braum are the 2 standouts for me this season. They're just super safe, super consistent. Like they can neutralize pretty much any lane and they're always relevant, even if they fall behind or if they're ahead, which is, I think, really powerful.
Is this your tier list for League of Legends as a whole, or is this a tier list for solo queue? Because Braum is a champion that I personally have always said, great pick and competitive, but the carry potential in solo queue is fairly low, and that's why he's always on the lower half of the win rates.
I do think he's definitely more team dependent compared to other supports. Like Braum, Alistar definitely, now that you mention it, are like highly pick competitive, but probably not as big solo queue. Mm-hmm. But I still think that in high elo solo queue, your teams were still at least functional enough to where you can make things work really well with them. I can understand probably in lower elo where things are more chaotic, you just want to, smash your lane, and you can't really trust anyone, so you can only rely on yourself. So I can understand like maybe champions like Nami, for example, who are much more lane dominant, are going to be way more prevalent and way more top tier. It's just that like in higher elo, it's much harder to abuse mistakes in lane. So playing those kind of like heavy trading enchanters is really, really hard because more often than not, you can't win lane hard enough to the point where you can snowball and have the game in your control, which is why a lot of the safer picks like Alistar, Braum were a lot better in high elo. So, and
then Pyke was the first champion that you mentioned, and I think that's another pick that he has a really high skill cap, in my opinion, at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed.
And that's why I think he does stand out a lot more in higher ranks. And I think that's another issue with tier lists, and that's a big issue why you won't see consistency, is because, if somebody is a YouTuber in gold, their tier list is going to be very biased because they're going to see like, oh, Brand has like a 60% win rate in gold, right? So he's got to be OP. And Pyke is a 40% win rate. But then if you ask somebody like you, you're going to be like, wait, every time I see a Brand, they get one shot by Pyke at level 2, and Pyke's OP and Brand's not, And I think that's a big issue why tier lists are kind of all over the place right now. I'll pass it off to you, Professor. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with pretty much all of what y'all have said right now. A lot of it's going to depend on where the player is. I think there are certain trends at certain levels, and I do think at high levels, and a lot of it comes down to the gold economy that you have. So if you're playing Challenger, the kills are going to be a lot more reserved. You know, you're not going to have like 50-50 scores at the end where there's just like money raining everywhere. If you look at like pro games, you know, like a zero gold economy is what I like to call it, where usually you just get your 4 ward item, your tier 2 boots, and like a bunch of control wards. And if you're lucky, maybe you finish an item, you know, that type of thing. Then like Braum, Tom, and Alistar are going to be amazing because just their baseline kits are super effective with like no items.
Right.
And so versus if you're like in silver, something like Sona is going to be a lot better because she scales so hard with plus healing and shielding and so hard with AP. And when you could start spamming your W late game and getting like, you know, adding on like thousands of effective health to your team in large team fights, she's going to be a lot better. But if you're Sona, you know, in Challenger, there are some people that can do it, obviously like Clown and, you know, some of those other people. But a lot of times it's a lot harder because you're not going to have as much gold to spend on all of your stuff. So
that's really
usually when I do tier lists, yeah, I try to, when I explain it, because I take a long time to explain it a lot of times, and like my hour-long videos, I try to talk about low elo and high elo, but I shoot for kind of like a mid-range, you know, like plat, gold, you know, type of range of stuff. And right now I have Nami and Sona up near the top, kind of like what Haxor said. They have very strong trading in lane, and they scale really well if you have a pretty moderate kind of gold economy. I like Nami particularly, and I think she can even work like if people were going to play an enchanter, and usually in pro play, if you do see enchanters occasionally, a lot of times Nami is one that will show up just because she does actually have some good hard CC, and she can go for some all-ins if you land that bubble in lane. It's a lot harder to land the bubble, you know, when people are playing like Lucian and Ezreal in Challenger. But she does have that oppressive sort of laning potential to her. And then I think that Zyra, I had Zyra as my number 3 on there. Just really strong, oppressive laner, good at taking plates, really good at vision control with those plants. You can fight over control wards because it gives you full vision of the area, even if there's a control ward there. It's something that's really underrated about her. So she's another one where if like AP supports are good, you'll see her like near the top of the list and like high elo. But yeah, that's what I have. And I think the tanks are having a bit of a harder time right now, at least at kind of lower elo. At high elo, they'll still be good, but they just nerfed Zeke's, which is really rough. And then a lot of times they'll just get outscaled if there are too many items. Then I think, you know, like a Threshold's always going to be good, but, you know, when you're trying to engage into like a Janna that has 3 items, you know, she's got Redemption, she's got Ardent Sensor, and, you know, just like Locket or something like that. It's really hard to engage in and win that fight fast enough to where she's not going to overwhelm you with the healing and shielding.
So you mentioned Thresh. What are your guys' opinions on Thresh? Because I personally think Thresh is just god tier. If you're a good Thresh player and you're able to land a high percentage of your hooks, you're just going to be able to pop off and carry games. But if you can't land your hooks, you're going to be useless. That's the way I see Thresh. What do you think?
I thought he was always. I mean, I've been a Thresh one trick for a long time, but I stopped playing him. But I think that this season, I personally don't like the Thresh into tank matchup. I think that Thresh is definitely one that thrives more in the enchanter matchup. Like I played pretty competitive in season 7 in collegiate, and I actually used Thresh as a counter pick into enchanters during like the prime time of the Ardent Sensor meta, because that's like the best matchup for him, where he just gets one hook and one all in and you just snowball the lane. I just felt like in the tank meta where everyone's playing like Braum, like Alistar, Tom Kench, like one hook is not going to kill anything. And so if you're going to get neutralized in lane and in team fights, like I just didn't feel like he was worth to pick.
Okay, that's more understandable. But again, we kind of touched on the fact that you don't see Braum, Tom Kench, Alistar. You see Alistar, but Braum, Tom Kench you hardly ever see in like Diamond-ish, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I had to kind of adjust my like picks according to like what people were playing around me in Challenger.
People right now are basically just picking like, I think people haven't got out of their head that Dark Harvest was nerfed yet. So I'm still seeing like a ton of Brand and Zyra support like all the time. And then you're also seeing the Thresh in there, and that's when Thresh really kind of pops off and is able to look like a high quality pick, because you land one hook at level 2 and you get yourself a kill on the Zyra who's got like 350 HP or something like that. I think that's enough on that though. Let's move on to season 9. So what changes are you guys hoping to see in Season 9? I'll go ahead and start this one off. I want to see Recon in the meta. That's my favorite champion. Okay, I got a soft spot for him. And I feel like a big problem with Recon is the fact that he's so good and competitive at times. And that's the issue. Is there's some champions that, you know, as much as Riot may try to mess with them, they're always either going to be good and competitive and not good at solo queue, or good at solo queue and not good and competitive, right? Tryndamere, for example, pretty good pick in solo queue, right? You're never going to see, you know, in the LCS somebody lock in Tryndamere. And Recon, I feel like, is one of those champions where if he's decent in solo queue, he's going to be way overpowered in competitive play. So that's the one change I'm looking for, is seeing Recon and other playmaking supports kind of find their way back into the meta. And I'm a little scared with the Enchanter buffs that are coming across right now, because, you know, Enchanters are the anti-fun supports. I mean, they're fun to play as. You know, I enjoy abusing my my Nami from time to time. But playing against a Janna who just like walks up and presses E, and then all of a sudden it's like, all right, I guess I can't kill that guy, right? And then you hard engage on somebody, and then Janna presses R. It's like, all right, well, guess we lose this team fight, right? It's the anti-fun meta. So that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of the caster meta, the enchanter meta coming back, and champions like Recon still kind of sitting down in the 47% win rate column. That's what I want to see in Season 9. What do you guys want to see? Not everybody at once. It's okay.
Do you want to go first, Professor?
Sure. Yeah. If you want to gather your thoughts for a second, that's fine. I mean, the thing about Recon, he's probably my favorite support overall too. I think they've deliberately decided to make his niche like he's pretty terrible like in lane, and then and for that he has like the premier like best engage, like one of the best engages in the game, and a lot of utility later on with his mobility in team fights. And they've seemed to show this by lowering his base health and nerfing Q like 2 or 3 times so that he can't take as good of trades in lane. And so any meta where it's going to be heavily predicated on winning lane, like taking these tower plates that we have now, I think it's going to be a little bit tougher on him. If they do get the AP supports out of there, you know, if Zyra and Brand kind of fall out of favor, they nerf one of their items, or they nerf like, you know, their runes a little bit more, I think we definitely could see Recon a little bit more. I think that he's okay into enchanters. I mean, he is kind of a hybrid enchanter himself. He can buy things like Ardent Sensor and put it on other people. He's going to be squishier if he does that. But he has really nice ratios on his abilities, AP ratios, and then the plus healing and shielding is very good with his personal shield, and then also with his E as well.
So since this has kind of turned into a, you know, how do we fix Recon kind of discussion, one thing that I talked about the other day on stream, because somebody asked me, you know, how can we fix Recon? One thing that they did to him a long time ago is they nerfed the speed that his W animation came out, and they nerfed the hitbox on his R, right? So a lot of people are like, oh, why don't they just buff his Q heal, or the damage that his Q does, or the damage that his W does? I personally feel like damage is not his issue. I don't think you pick Recon so that you can poke enemies out of lane, right? You pick Recon for that reliable engage. And if the engage is all that Recon has, I feel like it needs to be a little bit stronger. And again, you know, I'm completely biased because I love this champion to death. But I think there needs to be a little bit of a middle ground between how he is now and how he was on release. Because, again, they nerfed the W speed and they nerfed the R hitbox. That's how I feel like they could kind of put Recon in a little bit of a better state. What do you think, Professor? Or Haxor? Whoever.
Well, I think in general, champions need to have very clear strengths and weaknesses throughout the game. So I think that I agree that like maybe touching, you know, the strongest part of his kit like wasn't necessarily the best approach. Honestly, I think that even if they just nerf his laning phase more, that would make him but keep like his same engage levels at where it was at like on release. I honestly think that would probably be fine, because I think that then like people's response to Recon is just to pick someone that just smashes lane against Recon so that he doesn't get a free pass into late game, right? Where he just shines in every single team fight. So and I guess I also haven't played Recon as much, so I'm not as biased as you guys. Yeah. But I think that for what I want to see in general from Season 9, I think that there has been a lot of engaged supports just because because of the meta where like most junglers were not tanks, right? So you need to engage. Like, everyone just picks engage supports. I would like to see it shift back into maybe not even like the enchanters, like even like the shielders, but even some people like I think Tom Kench was a really interesting champion. I think that having like peeling supports and things like Face of the Mountain, which was like gone, was a really interesting change to the game where like you had supports that were like not like just poking like the crap out of people in lane and not just like hard engaging, but just like, you know, playing defensive and like protecting people, like things like Morgana, right? I think those supports were kind of left in the dust. I think it'd be really cool to see that kind of style come back where it's not either just you either poke the crap out of people or you either hard engaged. I feel like that little missing niche and that trifecta of supports would be cool to see again.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more difficult than people like to make it out to be, you know? Everybody's always like, oh, the league balance team sucks. There's always just one like easy meta to identify, but it's really hard if you think about it to make it so that there's, I don't know how many champions, like 170, 180 champions in the game now. It's really hard to make a lot of champions viable all at once. And that's why you see them continuously try to make things, but when you nerf one thing, another thing gets stronger, you make another thing stronger, another thing gets weaker. So it is difficult to get everybody or every champion to be kind of on an equal playing ground. But yeah, that's enough for that subject. I wanted to jump into some other things. So not things that we are hoping to see in Season 9, but some things that they have already implemented, including the new divisions. So this is Iron and Grandmaster, and they also got rid of all the 5th divisions. Personally, I think I'm going to have to, you know, play a little bit more with these divisions to have a true opinion on it. But the way I see it is there's now, since there's more ranks in the game, I feel like progression is going to be slower. And I feel like that's really unhealthy for a game because ranked is already very frustrating as it is. You know, Haxor, you probably can't relate because you're challenger, right? It doesn't get any better for you, right? You're going for rank 1, maybe. You're going for worlds, maybe. But for the other guys, for the rest of us who are struggling in other divisions, it feels really bad to try to get to that next division and fail time and time again. And it feels like because there's 2 more ranks, it's going to be so much more spread out. So somebody who is trying to get to gold in Season 8, right? They had to go through bronze and silver, now then gold, right? This next season, they're going to have to go iron, silver, gold, or iron, silver, iron, bronze, silver, then gold, right? So it seems a lot more difficult for people to accomplish their goals. And I don't think having that frustration in the game is going to be good for the League of Legends community as a whole. This is already a super toxic community. That's a topic for another day, right? Already a super toxic community. And when people are struggling to get to that next rank that they are spending hours and hours and hours trying to reach, I feel like that's going to be really unhealthy for the game. But they did get rid of all the 5th divisions, so it's not as long as it seems. But what do you guys think? Professor?
You want me?
Yeah,
you want me to go or Haxor?
Yeah, maybe Professor talk because I can't really talk much about like I can really talk about things like Masters Plus. So while we're on the topic of like progression,
poor thing. I can only talk about the top 1%.
I'll tell you what. I'll talk about the lower. Then you can talk about like Grandmaster.
Yeah. That's what I was implying. Yeah. So.
Okay. Yeah. Then we can do that because I have no experience with Grandmaster, so then you can step in and tell me that. I mean, overall, I think it's actually a pretty good thing for like the major reason is that I think the vast majority of players, in fact, I know statistically they were around like silver 4 was the average. And there just is not much differentiation. It's like, okay, I'm silver 4 or I'm silver 2. Like you're progressing through large swaths of the percentage of people. You're climbing a lot, but you're still called silver as you work your way through silver until you get to gold where you're the top 25%. So you're going through like from 50% to 25% all while you're silver. I don't like where they put it. I don't like putting a division below bronze because I think that's always going to feels bad because bronze is the meme and it's like, well, now you're lower than bronze, you know? And so I think a better way to do that would have been to have put it between silver and gold so that it'd feel like, you know, the silver people are rising into something fresh, or at least from bronze and silver so that you could say, well, I'm out of bronze now. Yay. I'm still not quite silver, but, you know, I'm in, you know, I'm moving up, right? And so I think that it's nice to have different levels of differentiation. I think you'll get through it to wherever you belong anyways, because the MMR, you know, is going to be roughly the same. The distribution's going to be the same. Just going to give people a little bit more excitement. at that level. Instead of Grandmaster, I would have loved to have seen something between like Platinum and Diamond, or just something to get out of the Diamond 5 funk. Because I feel like so many people, when they get there, they just kind of either they start trolling all the time because they realize they're not going to get to Masters, and so they just do whatever at that elo, or they just kind of give up and go play something else because they're like, I'm never going to get to Masters. I beat the game, you know, is what they'll think, basically, for normal people or whatever. You know, I beat the game. I'm not going to be able to go up higher. And so I think just adding a bit more motivation and climbing at that spot would have been nice. But
so, Haxor, I actually have a question for you that might help you address this topic a little bit better. Do you think that there is a big skill gap in low Masters or Masters in general, and then low Challenger and high Challenger? Because stuff like Diamond, there's a significant difference between Diamond 5 and Diamond 2, right? So maybe Grandmaster will help with the skill gap, but I haven't been Challenger in a long time, unfortunately, so I don't have an opinion. Is there a large skill gap there, would you say?
Yeah, I think that at least for like our current rank, right, or the current ranking system, right, with just Master and Challenger, like every time I saw a low Masters being like from Masters like 0 to 100 LP in my game laning against a low Challenger, I'm like, okay, that lane's already done for. Like, I have no faith in this guy. Like, there's a really big discrepancy. I'm pretty sure you can just break down the entirety of Masters and Challenger into like Masters 0 to 200 LP should be its own division, and then 200 to around 400 LP is its own division, and then I think about once you hit 400 plus, everyone's about the same skill level. It's just that, I mean, maybe once you get like to 800, 900 LP, that's probably its own division, but I say at that point, at 400 plus LP, then it's just a matter of how many games you put into the league.
Okay,
and so
go for it.
And so I think with the whole like Master, Grandmaster, Challenger tiers, like I do think that does help address the issue. I just hate the name Grandmaster. I don't know why. Why don't they just? I feel like they should just have the highest rank just be called Legend or something. But you know,
that'd be awesome for League of Legends.
like,
Dude, that's awesome.
Right? Yeah, like, games hire this guy right here.
Yeah, like it just feels weird because in a lot of other games too, like StarCraft, for example, Grandmaster is like the highest rank in the game, and so I feel like it just feels so weird to name a Grandmaster right after Master, because I just think, like, even like chess, right? Like Grandmaster is like the highest rank in chess, and so Grandmaster always implies that, but in League it's not. It's Challenger, which is like,
however, if you made the highest rank Legend or Legendary or whatever, do you think that would boost some egos? Because I feel like if some people, like, that would go in every Legend or Challenger player's Twitter bio, you know? They'd be like, I reached Legend in League of Legends. And I feel like the egos would just go through the roof if that was the case. I think Challenger and Grandmaster is a little bit more humble, even though I don't think Grandmaster is the best name ever. But I think it does prevent some ego boosting.
I think it's just confusing for people, especially people that don't play League of Legends. It's like, well, oh, what's your rank? You play League? It's like, yeah, Challenger. It's like, what does that mean? Like, you have to explain that to people. Like Grandmaster, kind of like what Haxor is saying. People know that's supposed to be like the highest. You're the Grandmaster, right? I think Legend, people know what a legend is too. Like, that's really good. If you hear that someone's like a legend at something, I think that's in sort of pop culture parlance, but then also it fits thematically with the League of Legends, right? You're working towards legend. I think that's a brilliant idea. So, you know, like Challenger, initially you were kind of challenging to try to get into the pro circuit. I think that was originally how it was designed, but they've kind of done away with that path a lot more, and they've broken it into kind of this, you know, whatever pro and then amateur team that works with the franchising and all that. So I think they should rename it. They should definitely hire Haxor to help them out with that.
Okay, so the next question, to continue about, you know, the ranked system as a whole. I personally have some negative thoughts towards the rank system. So the question here is going to be, do you think the rank system needs a rework or some changes? And let me first just, you know, go over my problems with the rank system. As I mentioned earlier, it's a very frustrating game not being able to climb divisions and stuff like that. And unfortunately, I probably should have prepared some better questions for Haxor, because when you're in Challenger, you don't have to worry about, you know, going up and down divisions too much, right? If you go on a 6-game loss streak, you're probably still Challenger. On the other hand, I'll get demoted to Diamond 2 or whatever, right? But my problem with the rank system is, let's say I start my day at, I start my day in my promo series for Diamond 5, okay? I win the first 3 games of my day, okay? that puts me at 0 LP, right? I'll pass my promos and I'll be at Diamond 5. If I then win one game and then lose 2 games, I instantly get demoted. Okay, and in order to get back to Diamond 5 now, I'm going to start at 75 LP. I'll have to win 2 more games just to get to promos, then another 3 games just to get promoted again. So getting demoted in this game is very discouraging because I probably explained that really bad, but essentially getting demoted means that you now have to win more than 50% of your games to get back to where you were, right? You have to win like 75% of your games just to get back to where you were. And I feel like it should be 1 win is equal to 1 loss, not you win 3 games to get promoted, you win 1, you lose 2, you get demoted, and now you have to win another 7 just to get, or another 5 just to get into the promos and then promoted again. So that's my frustration with the rank system, and I apologize again if I didn't explain this perfectly. But Professor, I think you should start off with this one again because you're somebody who has been going up and down some ranks. As you mentioned, you climbed to Diamond.
Yeah.
It's very, very frustrating, especially when you get demoted, trying to get back to promos and then having to get promoted again because of the amount of games that you have to play. So can you touch on that, you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the big thing that you're hitting on here is the problem of transparency. And a lot of people don't understand exactly how the system works. They don't know it's like two systems. You have your LP that you actually see, and then you have your MMR, which is a hidden matchmaking rating. And they never explain this to you. And that's how it used to be back in Season 1 and Season 2. You just had your 4-digit MMR number, and you just went up however many points, 20 per game, and that was it. You just were that 4-digit number. And you still are that 4-digit number when you're match made. That's why it can be frustrating for a lot of players too, especially when you've lost a lot of games and you're down in like what used to be Division 5. You know, you were Platinum 5 0 LP and you're getting matched with like Gold 4s. You're like, what's going on? It's because your hidden MMR is tanked a lot. And so also dodging plays into that a lot too, where you can dodge to preserve your MMR, but then you'll still lose the LP. But then if you start playing again, you'll be gaining more LP because your MMR is going to be preserved. It's going to be higher relative to your LP. So I have a whole video about this on the channel and like dodging and things like that. But, you know, the fact that I need an hour-long video to explain how the ELO system actually works and like how to optimize how you should play around that strategically to sort of game the system to an extent is a problem. And I think it feels bad because people don't understand it. Like you said, you get demoted, especially in Platinum. You don't get that extra win. That's something I think we forget about as people that are up, you know, Platinum and higher, is that when you're Gold and lower, you get a free win if you get demoted, or if you don't pass a series, you get a free win. So you only have to win, you know, 50% of your games if you're redoing a division to go back through. Whereas that's, you know, obviously a lot different once you move up. But yeah, I think that part of it's bad. But the reason they did that was so that people felt like they had drama. They had this series because a lot of people just spin their wheels the whole time. You know, they'll just be at Silver 4 the entire season. And so it gives them a little more drama in their lives, but at the price of confusion, I think. So
Definitely. That's understandable. Haxor, do you have anything to add to this conversation?
Yeah, I will say that with respect to climbing, like I do dodge a lot of and I do think that like a lot of the frustration that can come with climbing can be with things like, oh, I get like trolls in my game, or like, oh, I'm off roll or something like that. Maybe not for us supports, because like I feel like every time you queue up for support, you get support. But but let's say like on the off chance that you aren't like on support, then yeah, I just dodge. Or like you can even just, there's a lot of tools now where you can just like, you know, see what champions everyone on your team is playing, what win rate they have, and then you can kind of like have a pretty good guess whether they're trolling or not, right? If they, you know, 0 games first pick Teemo, like, you know, probably just, you know, yeah, just take, yeah, that's a dodge, right? And so like I agree that the system's bad, but I think that there's a lot of things you can do to kind of optimize for the system, like dodging. And even just for me, especially this year, like I definitely tried to lower the number of games I played overall, but just make sure I play higher quality games. And I think that's helped my mental state so much more than any other season, because I feel like in the past, you know, people when they play League, I feel like they're on a grind. They play, you know, 5-6 games a day to try to climb, and they don't really take time to, you know, maybe like take a break for like 10 or 15 minutes in between each game, maybe reflect on like, oh, what went good, what went bad. And so I used to, you know, I'm guilty. I played probably 5-6 games every day for many years, and then this year I decided to tone it down, only play 2 to 3 games a day, but you know, like maybe spend an extra hour like going for a jog or something. And I think that's made me way more calm and way more relaxed, and just I had way more efficient climbing. Like I've played way less games than I have any other season, and I feel much happier overall, even though I've reached like the same level each year, you know.
So I want to have you clarify out this real quick for other viewers that may be watching this, because I, as well as many other people, will say if you're looking to get good at this game, you have to play the game a lot, right? Practice makes perfect kind of thing. So you're saying play fewer games and make sure they're higher quality. Is that for somebody of your expertise where it's like you feel you're already good at the game, so you don't need to play a bunch, you just need to make sure that when you are playing, you're at a high level? So basically what I'm asking here is for other people, would you recommend to not play a bunch of games as well, or what would you do?
I think what I mean to say is that when you're playing your game, don't just autopilot on like everything you're doing, right? I think that even for me, even though I'm playing at a high level, I'm still learning things every single game. Like I think my mindset is that I go into each game as kind of like a learning experience. I want to try something new. I want to improve upon certain aspects. Like I want to make sure I trade really well in lane, or I want to make sure I get, you know, X number of control wards this game, and just have these like small little mini goals in each game. And I think that when you kind of see climbing more as a progression of your own skill rather than just, oh man, like I just want to like get to this rank because I know I deserve to be there, then I think that's when people get like really, really frustrated, right? Because then if they lose, then like they only really see that loss as, oh, you know, my team sucks or whatever, right? Or unlucky. But then if you kind of have the mindset of you're always trying to take something away out of each game, you can kind of treat each loss as like, oh, okay, well, like I lost because I messed up in this, but like I didn't word for this gank or something like that, right? And then you kind of build up over time, and I think that in the long run it'll help you a lot more mentally, and I think that's kind of like the point I was trying to get across.
It makes sense, because when you're playing on autopilot, you won't notice a lot of your own mistakes as well, you know. So just making sure that you are, you know, in a good state. And I always mention these really silly and kind of stupid things, but I'm always like, you know, guys, don't play League or don't play ranked if you're like hungry, or if you're tired, or if you're distracted. Like, these seem like such little things, but I'm not gonna lie, I played a game earlier today and I was walking back to lane thinking about, you know, I really want a burrito right about now, and you know, I wasn't completely focused. I didn't play my best, right? There's all these little things that go into the game, and I definitely am gonna take your piece of advice there and probably play fewer games but more high quality games, and just make sure that I'm more focused rather than just spamming ranked all day long and thinking, all right, I don't need to go on a jog, I don't need to go work out, I don't need to go eat right now, I don't need to go, you know, socialize with people. I have League of Legends. That's what I do, right? So I'm probably gonna take your advice for sure there. But I did want to clarify that for other people who are new to the game and learning the game still. I didn't want them to get the message that, oh, I only need to play 2 or 3 games a day to get better at this game. It's like, right. Okay, just make sure you're playing at a high quality, but you do need to play a lot in order to be good at this game.
Agreed.
I saw an interview probably a year or two ago with Skara, and he was talking about how you can't consider yourself a good League of Legends player until you've played at least 2,000 games. And I was like, wow, like that's a lot, but it kind of makes sense. You know, there's the common saying, it's like 10,000 hours is necessary to be like perfect or something, right? So 2,000 games is a lot, but that's if you think about it, the pros and stuff who have been playing since the game was beta, right? Since the very beginning, they've played tens of thousands of games by now, right? They get 2,000 plus games every season if you count their scrim games. So playing a lot definitely does make a big difference. Okay, so I think we're going to our final little topic here, and it's a little off topic in comparison to everything else that we've talked about today. But this last question is, how do we fix NA solo queue? NA solo queue is kind of like the laughing stock of all the regions. You know, you get people, imports and stuff, who come to NA solo queue and they're like, why do I have 60 ping? Why is this Draven running it down mid? You know, what's going on? Why are there win traders? Why are there boosters? Why is there this? Why is there that? And I don't know, honestly, so I don't want to lead off this topic. I just want your guys' opinion on it. How bad do you guys view NA solo queue right now? Do you have experience recently with boosters or win traders or people inting and stuff like that? How do you view NA solo queue as a whole right now? Maybe you could start with just that. Excuse my alarm. And yeah, how has your experience been, and do you think there's something that we could do to fix it?
You want to go, Haxor, or do you want me to go?
I really haven't spoken in a while. You can go first. Yeah.
Okay. Sure. So I mean, part of it, you know, that people will talk about a lot is just sort of the culture is not the same here around competitive gaming. It's changing, but compared to somewhere like in Korea or even like in China, I don't know. I'm not an expert on it, but I feel like there's just like more discipline and like more of a mentality of working towards perfection as it being a process, like a difficult process you're willing to have the patience to work through. Kind of like what Haxor was talking about a second ago, like getting higher quality games and just working on focus and self-reflection rather than just focusing on like what the reward is, where your rank is going to be. So to that extent, I don't know necessarily that it can be fixed, but I think that part of it is also NA gets critiqued as sort of a one-trick type of culture more so than others in solo queue. And I think by making that information transparent, I think would be helpful, because if you look at like pro games, you know who you're playing against, right? You know what their champions are. You can ban them out if you want to. So why not have something like that in the league client? You know, and Haxor alluded to things like op.gg that you can look at your own team, right, to see what they're playing and make informed decisions about whether or not you should dodge. I think there should be something in client where you can hover their profile and at least see like their 3 most played champs and like what their win percentages are with those champs. And then if you see somebody that has, you know, like 2,000 games on Irelia or whatever, then you could consider banning that out. And so that would force them to diversify a little bit more. And I think that would add more stability to the system. Because right now, I think Haxor alluded to this before too. If you get paired up, if someone gets paired up, especially at higher elos, you have someone who's off-rolled, you know, top lane. The support gets off-rolled as top lane. And you're against somebody who is like, you know, just whatever one-trick top laner, you know, one-trick Aatrox top lane or something like that. They're going to get destroyed. And there's nothing they can do about that. They can just try to pick something that's defensive where maybe they can scale and team fight and just try not to die in lane and just go down 30 CS or something. I think the positional ranks are going to help. I mean, we'll see how that works. It's going to be difficult and chaotic. I mean, the problem there is like, can you get people motivated to play when they're on their off-roll rank when it's not like what they're trying to climb with, right? So if it's a support that gets off-rolled as top, how can you get them not to troll? That's a problem of motivation. But I think it's going to help the skill matchups a lot, because now if you get someone who's off-rolled, they're at least going to play at a lower MMR than what their primary is, and so they'll have a better chance to make the games more competitive. So it's not just whoever gets more main rolled people automatically wins in games. So I think the positional rank is a step towards that, sort of adding more fairness, more stability to solo queues, so you don't have as many throwaway games you have to dodge. But it's a problem of culture, and it's a problem of dealing with specialists versus off-rolled people.
I actually forgot that positional ranks were a thing.
Me too, entirely. Yeah,
I actually just completely forgot. That actually would solve a lot of problems. That's a really good.
That's the headline thing in season 9, guys. That's the big thing.
Forgot about that entirely. You mentioned that, and I was like, oh my god, I have to deal with this next season. But yeah, Haxor, do you have anything to add to, you know, your experiences in NA solo queue, or how can we potentially fix it?
Right. I mean, I definitely talked a lot about how, with the previous question, I'll kind of rephrase it. Like, I think that it is, like, first I said, it's hard to kind of change the NA culture, where NA is definitely like way more relaxed in general, right? I think that we can just observe from like China, Korean solo queue, or even like Europe solo queue, like people are really serious. Like people flame, but they flame because, you know, they're very passionate, they want to win, right?
Yeah.
And NA is just kind of, you know, whatever, just kind of do whatever you want, it's fine, it's chill, everyone just one tricks, it's chill. And so that's why, like, I've always kind of had the approach of like, well, like, you know, I'm given all these clowns, I'll just make the best of it by, you know, like, I'll just adjust my play style to not only what I think is fun, but also what I think will help me get more motivated to keep playing and get better, right? And so that's why I do think a lot of people turn to one tricks, because that's how they find inspiration in, you know, grinding this like very difficult game out, right? Because if they fall in love with one champion, like, you can just play it every single game, you can get all the clowns in the world and you'll still have fun. So and I think that's why a lot of people one trick. But yeah, I think provisional ranks will definitely help a lot. I also think dueling a lot helps a lot too. I feel like I suggest dueling a lot just because it helps at least talking to another person on your team. I think that if they ever make team comms, that would vastly help solo queue in general. I think that the few times where I have people in my challenger games who post, you know, Discord rooms, and we just all get in a call and we just talk it out, and while we play the game. I even did that before when I was towards the end of the season, and that was a lot of fun. And I think that it helps so much with playing more optimally and just making the game more fun overall. So I think with addition of provisional ranking, voice comms would be huge.
So the biggest thing that I'm taking away from that is you basically just offered to duo boost me to challenger to save my dying YouTube channel. Is that what I'm hearing? No, but I definitely agree. Discord and duoing with people definitely does help the communication. I also think this is another topic, as I've said earlier, for another video, but I think comms definitely would help toxicity. Because it's kind of the thing, it's like, it's so easy to be a keyboard warrior and just flame people without, like, seeing them. But, like, every experience I've ever had, because I've also had people, like, towards the end of the season especially, when everybody's tryharding, they link a Discord, you get in there, and it's like, you make a terrible play, you die, and you feel terrible about it, right? You're like, oh, everybody's gonna flame me now, and it's like, if you're in a voice comm, people are like, hey, it's okay, dude, It's just... like the human interaction, it's so difficult for people to flame. Not everybody, I'm sure there's some people out there that still willingly flame, but when you're in voice comms with somebody, it is a little bit different. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that used to play like the old Call of Duty that are gonna argue and be like, no, I've had plenty of voice comms playing COD and people still flame. But I don't know, personally I feel like it would help the game quite a bit if voice comms were implemented. And at the bare minimum, we have duoing, which I do think is a really good tool that people should probably abuse, and abuse the voice comms that come along with it. But overall, I think that was a pretty good note to end this video on. Real quick before we end everything, Haxor, you could start off. Where can people find you?
I upload videos on youtube.com/MeNoHaxor. I also stream on the same username, Twitch TV MeNoHaxor. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
All right, Professor.
Just the Strategy Professor on YouTube. Lots of content, lots of guides, constantly updating. And then I also currently stream on YouTube. I'm thinking about maybe moving over to Twitch at some point in the future, but right now I just stream on YouTube starting 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
So I think all of us, we all have a little bit of different goals, but for the most part, we're all support mains, and we all have a little bit of a goal to help other support mains out there. That's why we stream. That's why we create content from time to time. We are here to help you guys improve. So definitely check these guys out if you haven't already. I'm going to hopefully leave their links down in the description. If I didn't, I forgot, and I apologize. As for me, you guys probably watching this on my YouTube channel, so you already know a little bit about me. I also stream at twitch.tv/NasteeyLOL. Currently working on becoming a Twitch partner, so be sure to give me a follow over there. Twitter, Instagram, all that other stuff should be down in the link, or should also be in the description. Links down there. Thank you guys for joining me. This was a lot of fun. Yeah, I don't know. This was a lot of fun. It's really cool to be able to sit down, talk to some other support mains. The support role is very underappreciated. There's not a ton of people that talk about it out there. So overall, this was a lot of fun, guys, and I appreciate you guys coming and joining me for the pilot episode of my Real Talk podcast.
Cool. Yeah, thanks, gentlemen. It was great.
Yeah, thanks for having this.
All right, thanks for watching, guys. Bye.